Am I the asshole for refusing to pay for my sister's wedding dress after she ruined mine? Hey Reddit, longtime lurker, first-time poster. This situation has been eating me up, and I'd really appreciate some outsider perspectives. So my 28 female, sister, 26 female, and I have had our ups and downs, as most siblings do. However, we've been really close the past few years, and I was so excited to have her as my maid of honor for my wedding last year. Flashback to my wedding day. I had this beautiful dress that I spent a fortune on. After the ceremony and during the reception, I noticed some red wine had been spilled on the bottom of my dress. I was devastated. I later found out from a bridesmaid that my sister had accidentally knocked over her wine glass when she was trying to take a funny photo. She didn't come forward about it and didn't even apologize when I confronted her. Fast forward to now. My sister is getting married and she's fallen in love with a dress that's way out of her budget. She asked if I'd help her pay for half of it as her wedding gift. I flat out refused. I brought up how she ruined my dress and didn't take responsibility, and I feel like I shouldn't have to contribute towards hers. Now my family is divided. Half of them think I'm being petty and that I should let go of past grudges. The other half think I'm justified. So, am I the asshole for refusing to pay for my sister's wedding dress after she ruined mine? Am I the asshole for not giving my engagement ring to my dead fiance's family?
Like, give it back?
Deleted account because my new job friends know my usual account and they don't know that I used to be engaged. Dead fiance's name is John, and I'll start at the beginning, about 4 years ago. I was engaged to John after dating for 4 years. When he proposed, the ring he used was 2 sizes too big. We went to the store that he bought it from 2 weeks before proposing, and he kept the receipt. Gotten the right size and kept the same style. We did plan to have a wedding, after 3 years of planning and saving. 10 months after the proposal, John passed away in a car accident. I used the savings for the wedding to pay for his funeral. The day after the funeral, John's brother came to me asking for the ring. I asked why. His response was that the ring had been passed down their family for 5 generations. Told him that was bullshit because I have proof of the ring being bought for me less than a year ago. We argued for a bit and he then stormed out. Then I get calls from John's family saying I'm a liar and demanding the ring. Then I got a letter from their lawyer. In the letter, they also demanded that I reimburse them for the cost of John's funeral. So I got myself a lawyer, showed the proof about the ring and the fact that I paid for the funeral in court, and I won. I thought the madness was over until John's sister recently messaged me. She and her boyfriend are engaged, but haven't gotten a ring, and she wants John's ring. After I said no, she went crazy and messaging me nonstop demanding. I have blocked her over and over, but she finds a way around it. I was having brunch with my friend. My mobile was on the table. A message from sister popped up, and my friend saw it. My friend knows about everything. Before sister's first message, I explained about her messages, and friend believes I'm the asshole and I should give her the ring. She told my other friends, and they are all saying the same thing. Now I'm doubting myself. So, am I the asshole?
My girlfriend found out that I was taking one for the team when we first met, and now she's spiraling in insecurity. How do I get her to be confident in my attraction to her again? About 2 years ago, I was at a party with a friend of mine who we'll call Josh. Me and Josh were just vibing to the music and chilling when he suddenly spots 2 girls. The one he was interested in was this pretty blonde, while the other was her heavier friend. That's not to say her friend was unattractive, but just a little noticeably bigger than what could be considered average weight. Anyway, Josh turned to me and urged me to be his wingman by taking one for the team and distracting her friend while he chatted with the blonde. After a little back and forth, I decided to just do it and be a good friend. So we made our way over and made our move, where I would go in first and start chatting with their friend while Josh began flirting with the girl he was interested in. Again, this friend I was talking to was by no means unattractive, just a bit heavier than what most guys, myself included at the time, would go for. I thought she was very sweet, even though I was just talking to her out of obligation. It didn't really matter anyway, because ultimately the girl Josh was into already had a boyfriend apparently and had seemingly brushed him off, with him eventually patting me on the back to signify I didn't have to chat with her friend anymore. So I decided to politely end the conversation, however, not before she asked for my Instagram, which I decided to give her. I didn't really think much of it at the time, and I was certain I would never see her again. However, a couple of days later, I ran into the same girl in my school's campus store. I didn't really recognize her at first, but she seemed to know me immediately. We decided to chat for a bit, and I was reminded of her name, Megan. Anyway, it was really just small talk until Megan suddenly seemed a little awkward. I asked her if everything was alright, and she replied that nothing was wrong, but she wanted to know if I wanted to go out with her sometime. This actually came as a shock to me because it was the first time a girl had ever made the first move and asked me out. So even though she wasn't really my type at the time, I said yes, and that was probably the best decision of my life. Me and Megan really hit it off, and before long we were in a serious relationship. Any qualms I had about her weight were gone immediately after the first time we slept together, and I actually found her body to be really soft and comforting. I had never felt so relaxed cuddling with someone before I met her. We've been dating for 2 years now, and I absolutely love her. She's my everything, and I have even been thinking of proposing as soon as we are both done with school. Everything was perfect until last month. Last month, we hosted a small get-together just for a few friends who were also in relationships, like a couple's game night sort of thing. It was here where Josh, who has been my good friend for years, was pretty drunk and made a joke about how if he had never forced me to take one for the team back then, I would never have found the love of my life. The joke didn't really register to me as anything negative, and I was also drunk, so I just laughed it off. Megan was cuddled up next to me on the couch, though, and asked what Josh meant by that. I told her nothing, but Josh, being the drunk idiot he was, elaborated and told her the story about how we met through my perspective at the time. Megan just said, "Oh," and didn't really react, so I figured she just brushed it off. However, the rest of the night she seemed kind of distant and even a little sad. Finally, once everyone had left, she let it all out and started crying. She was essentially in shock because this whole time she thought I approached her then was because I was interested in her, and learning that it was because I was forced to seemed to bring back old insecurity within her. It doesn't help that she's actually gained weight since back then, even though I don't really have any problem with that and have told her that multiple times. I immediately gave her the full story about how I fell for her right after that, and I have loved and adored her ever since. She seemed reassured, and we even cuddled the whole night after that. Since the night, though, she's been acting differently. It's like she's lost her confidence around me. She only wears large, baggy clothes, even though she never used to before. She refuses to change with me in the room and hardly eats in front of me. Before, I used to playfully tickle her stomach sometimes, and she'd always smile and play along. Now, she always seems insecure when I so much as accidentally graze it. She also refuses to sleep with me without a shirt on. So far, I sat her down multiple times and explained that her body is incredibly attractive to me and that there's no one more beautiful in my eyes than her. But it's like she doesn't believe me. Lately, I've been thinking about offering her to come to the gym with me, but I'm scared she may be more insecure at that suggestion. How do I get her to believe that I love her no matter what she looks like? That I truly adore her in all aspects? I just want her to be confident in herself again. Am I wrong for how I responded when my husband told his brother that he's lucky his wife is mute? My sister-in-law, my husband's brother's significant other, is mute. She's been happily married to my brother-in-law for 1 year, and I have been married to my husband for 5. We were invited to my mother-in-law's house for dinner a few days ago. I have to say, it was the weekend that I was too tired from working, looking after the kids, doing household chores, etc. But my husband insists on me being part of these weekly dinner gatherings. My brother-in-law came and brought his wife with him. We all sat at dinner and discussed many topics, and then my sister-in-law started using sign language with my brother-in-law. My husband was smirking for some reason, and then waited till they stopped, then turned to his brother and said, "Man, you're lucky your wife is mute. Your house must be so peaceful and quiet all the time, right? This is a blessing." He said this while locking eyes with me. My sister-in-law was stunned. They all stared at me awkwardly, like I knew he meant to say that I was loud and noisy at home, which is not true at all. I decided to pitch in and reply with, "Yeah, well, she's lucky for not having a button-pushing jerk barking demands at her all day long and gaming while she's juggling everything from childcare to household chores to work all by herself." Silence. He figured I was referring back to him, which I was, and his face went to normal to red to pale. He excused himself to the bathroom, then later things were really awkward. We got in the car and he lost it on me completely. He said I disrespected, badmouthed, and demeaned him in front of his family. Okay. I pointed out how he was indirectly insulting me with the "you're lucky your wife's mute" remark, but he called me petty and said that I took it personally and acted insensitively and rudely towards him. We got home and he went radio silent and has basically been sulking about what happened till this very hour. Am I the asshole for my response to him?
Am I the asshole for calling my fiance delusional for wanting me to let his mom pick my makeup/look for the wedding? My fiance and I are getting married. He comes from a conservative family and his mom has been up in the wedding planning, posing as supervisor to oversee and to, quote, catch and eliminate anything that could be seen as offensive. After the wedding dress fiasco, I was told to get a dress that wasn't showing too much skin. Next came the makeup issue. I showed my fiance some looks I wanted to choose from, and he gasped and said his mom would have a stroke if she saw these.
Dude.
I, in frustration, asked, what should I do? And next thing I knew, but did not expect, was for her to send me looks of models with almost no makeup or very light makeup. No eyeshadow, no glowy lipstick, just ... plain look. I refused to choose from any of her suggestions, and we had an argument. My fiance came home and argued about how I'm planning on humiliating him and his family at the wedding by wanting to look like a, quote, clown and make a joke out of both of us. I snapped and called him delusional to think I'll let his mom get a say in what makeup I should wear since it's my face. He said there's no such thing as mine and yours in marriage, and that I'm clearly too immature for it. He has been avoiding me while saying, quote, you know why I'm avoiding you. And his mom sent a text about how she has my best interests at heart.
Oh.
Am I the asshole?
A man has just confessed to a murder for an almost 20-year-long missing persons case. Natalie Holloway was a straight-A student from Alabama who went on a senior trip to Aruba in late May 2005 with her classmates. They were ready to soak in the sun and celebrate their graduation with a bang. However, no one would expect this celebration to turn into a nightmare. On May 26, 2005, the group of 124 students and 7 adult chaperones checked into the Holiday Inn Resort near the northern end of the island. The trip starts off great. A few days go by, and on the last day, Holloway meets a 17-year-old Dutch national named Jordan van der Sloot who lives nearby. They chat for a little and meet up later at the club downtown where they drink and dance together. Sometime after 1 a.m, Holloway is spotted leaving in a car with van der Sloot and his 2 friends, the Calpo brothers. The next morning, Holloway's friends are unable to locate her for departure. Her passport and bags remain untouched, and Holloway is nowhere to be found. Her family and friends are quickly alerted, and they fly into Aruba on a rented jet that same night. Van der Sloot is quickly questioned, and he states that he left the bar with Holloway and his friends, visiting a lighthouse before dropping her off at the hotel. He leads Holloway's friends and family to the hotel, promising to point out the security guard who allegedly helped her inside but isn't able to find the guard. Authorities quickly get involved and launch a group of 100 tourists and locals to comb the area, followed by volunteer teams, police, Marines, and planes to search for Holloway over the next few days, but to no avail. It's as if she just vanished. Police make a few arrests, such as hotel guards, but end up releasing them. On June 9, 2005, the police chief arrests the 3 boys who were last spotted with Holloway, and the suspects now change their story. The Calpo brothers claim that they dropped Holloway off at the beach near the hotel, and van der Sloot insisted that he left her there to walk home. The Calpos are released shortly after, but van der Sloot remains detained for another 60 days with no explanation why. Over the next few months, all leads turn cold and van der Sloot and his friends are set free. Over the next year and a half, van der Sloot and the Calpos are questioned and legal action is taken against them, only to end in dismissals due to not having enough incriminating evidence. Days turn into weeks, weeks turn into months, and months turn into years. Over these years, van der Sloot becomes less tight-lipped and starts leaking information. In February 2008, in a broadcast of hidden camera footage set up by a Dutch reporter, van der Sloot tells an associate that Holloway collapsed on the beach and he was unable to revive her. He had a friend dispose of her body from a boat. He would later insist that he was fabricating the story. In March 2010, van der Sloot contacts Holloway's lawyer, John Q. Kelly, and offers to reveal the location of Holloway's body in exchange for $25,000 up front and $225,000 to come. Kelly agrees and relays the information to the FBI. Kelly takes $10,000 to meet with van der Sloot in Aruba, who states his father buried her in a house's foundation. Another $15,000 is wired to his bank in the Netherlands. Van der Sloot later admits to Kelly that he was lying again and secretly travels to Peru to take part in a poker tournament. No one was prepared for what was about to happen on May 30th, 2010. Van der Sloot kills a young 21-year-old Stephanie Flores Ramirez in his hotel room in Peru. Her body isn't immediately discovered because he had left instructions that forbade hotel staff from entering his room. He cuts and dyes his hair to escape, but is found in a taxi in Chile, where he is taken back to Lima and held in a high-security Castro prison. However, it would take many more years before everything comes to light. Crime Fanatic Friday Part 2. After almost 20 years, Jordan Vandersloot has finally confessed to the murder of Natalie Holloway. 5 years after Holloway's disappearance, Vandersloot is taken to a high-security prison for the murder of a young 21-year-old woman named Stephanie Flores Ramirez in Peru. A few weeks later, he's indicted to the U.S. for wire fraud and extortion for his attempt to acquire $250,000 from Holloway's mother. When asked why the suspect wasn't arrested after the wire payment and before he had a chance to kill Flores, authorities stated that there wasn't enough sufficient evidence to do so. In court, Vandersloot apologizes for killing Flores and states that he feels very bad. The defense blames it on extreme psychological trauma from years of dealing with the Holloway saga, but prosecutors state that he killed Flores to rob her of her winnings from a casino. On January 13, 2012, Vandersloot is sentenced to 28 years in prison in order to pay $75,000 in reparations to Flores' family. The Holloway family holds out hope for extradition to the U.S. to face additional punishment for the extortion charges, but learn that won't happen until his murder sentence is finished. 2 years later, in 2014, Vandersloot, 26, gets married in prison to his Peruvian girlfriend, Lady Figueroa, 24, who is 7 months pregnant. Earlier this year, in May, Peruvian officials allowed for a temporary surrender of Vandersloot to the U.S. to face charges of extortion and wire fraud for the 2010 indictment, where he pleads not guilty in June 2023. Finally, on October 18, 2023, Vandersloot confesses to killing Natalie Holloway in court. He enters a plea agreement and pleads guilty to the extortion and wire fraud charges while also confessing to the murder. He stated that Holloway and him were laying on the beach together kissing when he tried to escalate and she told him no. He ignores her and continues. Unable to get him off of her, Holloway kneed him in the crotch. He reacted by kicking her extremely hard in the face. This is when she went unconscious. He noticed a huge cinder block lying in the sand nearby and bludgeoned her face in with it. Afterwards, he dragged her lifeless body and disposed of it in the sea where he gets knee-deep in the water. This correlates as to why he was seen without shoes that night on his way home. However, despite this confession, he won't be prosecuted for the murder as the statute of limitations in Aruba is 12 years. The judge sentenced him to 20 years behind bars for the financial crimes, which he will serve concurrently with his Peruvian sentence. But if officials release him early, he'll have to serve the remainder of the 20 years in the U.S.
Am I the asshole for bringing a raccoon to my sister's wedding?
Nice.
So this happened last weekend and I'm still getting angry texts from my family. So let me explain. I have a pet raccoon named Pebble. He is very friendly and well-trained, and I love him like a son. He goes everywhere with me, and he has his own harness and leash. He is also vaccinated and has all the necessary papers. I was invited to my sister's wedding, which was held at a fancy hotel. I asked her if I could bring Pebble. She said no. She said it was inappropriate and disrespectful to bring a wild animal to such an important event. She also said that some of the guests might be allergic or scared of him. I was hurt by her response, but I didn't want to argue with her. I decided to respect her wishes and leave Pebble at home with a friend. However, on the day of the wedding, my friend called me and said that he had an emergency and couldn't take care of Pebble.
Convenient.
I panicked. I didn't have anyone else who could watch Pebble, and I didn't want to leave him alone in my apartment. I also didn't want to miss my sister's wedding. So I decided to bring Pebble with me. I thought it wouldn't be a big deal. I put him on his harness and leash and put a bow tie on him to make him look more formal. I also brought some treats and toys to keep him entertained. I figured I could just sneak him in and keep him in a corner where he wouldn't bother anyone. Boy, was I wrong. As soon as I arrived at the hotel, people started noticing Pebble. Some of them thought he was cute and wanted to pet him, but others were horrified and disgusted. They started whispering and pointing at me and Pebble. Some of them even complained to the staff. My sister saw me and Pebble and freaked out. She came over to me and yelled at me for bringing him. She said I was selfish and irresponsible and that I should leave immediately.
Damn.
I tried to apologize and explain the situation, but she wouldn't listen. She told me to get out or she would call security. She also said that I was no longer her brother and that she never wanted to see me or Pebble again. I was shocked and hurt by her reaction. I felt like she was overreacting and being unreasonable. Pebble didn't do anything wrong. He was just sitting quietly in his harness looking adorable. He didn't bite anyone or make a mess or cause any trouble. I decided to leave with Pebble, but not before telling my sister that she was being a bridezilla and that she owed me an apology. I also told her that Pebble was more family to me than she ever was. Now, my family is mad at me. They say I was rude and disrespectful to my sister and that I should have left Pebble at home or found another solution. They say I should apologize to my sister and beg for her forgiveness. But I don't think I did anything wrong. I think my sister was being unfair and cruel to me and Pebble. I think she should apologize to me for treating me like dirt. So, am I the asshole?